back here on the Lynchburg Garage Door pregame show, talking to the head coach of the Jefferson Forest Cavaliers, Coach J.T. Cruz. Let's review before we look ahead. I'll tell you what, it was a pretty good win last week to make the mark stay unblemished.
Yeah. I thought our guys went out there and played really well against the Halifax team that, talented, and I think the pieces are there, just kind of, they're still working things on their end on how they kind of want to fit it all together. I think the thing that impressed me most about my guys is a lot of times when a 2-0 team is going to play an 0-2 team, sometimes they might take them a little lightly or, not go in there with the focus that they need to. But to our kids' credit, I mean, they had a great week of practice and they went out and they handled business on Friday just like they should. And so I was impressed with them of I guess the best way to put it would be playing to our standard rather than playing to the schedule, so to speak.
How important is it that you guys play teams that, I don't want to say have better athletes than you all, but are teams that are really, really athletic?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the nature of high school football, right? Is it's all about matchups and you play some teams like Halifax and Gretna had a bunch of kids that can run and once we get into Seminole District play, certainly, you're going to see a lot of teams like that. And so, finding ways that you can defend those guys and stop them and contain them is important. And so week in, week out, it's always going to be a different challenge. And Halifax had a really good running back, and so it's finding ways to contain that guy. Whereas with Gretna, it was more about their passing attack and their receivers. And so, just different things that can start to work you for when you get into Seminole District play, and you got to be able to defend all of it.
And I'll say this, you didn't say it, but Standing River may not be as athletic as those two, but they're also giving you a look that you might see in the Seminole with some of the teams that are more hard-nosed.
Yeah, well, in Standing River, certainly while they have their share of good athletes, I think even if you ask them, they would say that they're built, I guess, more in the mold that we are, and that they're going to be a physical team up front, and so they're not really trying to play as much of a space game as a Halifax or a Gretna. To them, it's going to be more about, are they going to run power? Are they going to try and grind you down with their guys up front? And so it's a different challenge that's presented to you, but it's a challenge in and of itself. How are you going to stand up to that? And again, you got to find ways to play against that because that's what you're going to see in the Seminole. I mean, you're going to see great athletes. You're going to see big dudes up front who are really strong and can push guys around.
Yeah, and I think there's some teams that have the rep of being a hard-working team. That doesn't mean they're a good personality, I mean, that's not saying they're not good-looking out there. Yeah. But then you find teams that are really good athletic, but, they might not need to be blue-collar as much because they got great athletes, if that makes sense. Maybe not my best analogy ever.
I totally understand where you're coming from.
So now I got some news for you. We're into the Seminole District season.
Yes, we are.
Are you always – I know you worry about every game to a degree, but how much does that first one in the district keep you awake?
Well, and I mean, it's week by week, right? And so it's Heritage, man, and Heritage is going to be a good team because Heritage is always a good team. Whenever you're playing a Heritage football team coached by Brad Bradley, you're going to be in for one. They're going to be disciplined. They're going to be hard-nosed. They're going to be athletic. They're going to be talented up front. I mean, and this team that we're about to play on Friday checks all those boxes. And so it's not even necessarily about, hey, this is the first Seminole District game. It's man, this is Heritage. They're going to be a good football team. They're going to be tough to beat. But with that, we talked to our guys, pretty much at the end of that Halifax game where it's, okay, hey, we're through the out-of-district schedule, and now the real season starts, man. This is Seminole District play, and this is, like I said, it gets real right now. I mean, it is week in, week out. I mean, you're going to see some really, really good football teams, and so you can't have a bad practice here or an off week there. You got to be ready every single day to bring it, because if you don't, the team you're playing against is going to bring it.
I hate to play revisionist history, but last year you guys played Heritage early. I thought you guys got better progressively for the rest of the season. Does that worry you in terms of we may not be as good as we're going to be and we got to play a team like Heritage?
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily a worry. I think, honestly, that's almost the goal, right, is you want to improve week over week. You never want to be playing your best football in week 3 or week 4. Sure. You want to be playing your best football towards the end of the season. And so that's something we preach to our guys as well. I mean, we want to be a better football team against Heritage this Friday than we were against Halifax last Friday, and we want to be a better football team the following week than we were against Heritage this week. That's the goal, to continue to improve week over week. And so, not necessarily something that you worry about. That's the goal, man. We want to be improving each and every week.
dumb question maybe. Is this team from Jefferson Forest Road Warriors? Because you're on the road again.
Man, it's one of those things where I don't even really think about it, right? It's 1 week at a time, right? And so this week we're on the road against Heritage, and that's the hand that we're dealt, and that's the hand that we're going to play. It's not so much like, oh man, we're on the road again or anything like that. It's week by week, man. And so we're on the road for this one, and we're going to find a way to go out there and execute the way that we're capable of executing.
That's right. I forgot about that road question. We talked about that a few weeks back, talking to JT Cruz, head coach of the Jefferson Forest Cavaliers. When I'm calling this game on the radio on Friday, if I say these names from Jefferson Forest, that means good things are happening for you guys. Whose names am I going to be saying?
Well, I don't even know that it's necessarily about, any individual guys on our team, right? We pride ourselves, and it's a message that we give to our team each and every day, each and every week, man. Whoever it takes, whatever it takes, however we got to do it, we're going to find a way to win. And so, I think over the course of these past 3 games, really, you've heard a bunch of different names, right? Chris Reed busted off a bunch of long runs last week, and the week before that, it was Fax Rowland against Stanton River. Dylan Marks scoring a bunch of touchdowns against them too. I mean, it's different guys every week, and it's honestly whoever is called upon, we expect them to step up and fulfill their role to the best of their ability. And sometimes they're called upon to carry the ball, and sometimes they're called upon to block for the guy carrying the ball. And it's whatever we're asked to do, man. We are all in, and we're going to do it. And so, a lot of times you hear names of guys that are carrying the ball and scoring touchdowns and all that, but it's about all 11 guys on the field. Same thing defensively, right? Sometimes you hear, linebackers making tackles. Well, that guy was able to make a tackle because that defensive lineman in front of him held up on that double team and let that linebacker get through there clean. And so it's not necessarily about any one individual guy going out there and making a ton of big plays or anything like that. It's a whole team effort from us across the board.
Good. You've heard I'm not a really good announcer then and don't do great with player identification. So no problem on that.
Nothing like that. No.
You got a shot at Heritage last year to where they're kind of the same for more or less on personnel at the quarterback. I know they got some different kids at the skill spots and everything. What sticks out to you about Aiden Slash at quarterback?
I mean, he's dynamic, man. He can run around and make things happen. He's obviously a good runner. He's a good passer too. And so finding ways to contain him and keep him from going out there and taking the game over either with his legs or with his arm is obviously really, really important from a defensive standpoint. But I mean, it's not just him, man. It's that whole team, and that's what you get with Heritage, right? There's no weak spots on that offense or defense. They are all really, really good quality players.
What stands out about Heritage?
It's the same thing year in, year out that you're going to see with a Heritage football team. They are not going to go out there and beat themselves, right? If you want to beat Heritage, you better go out there and beat them because they're not going to make mistakes. They're not going to put themselves in bad position. And they're a quote unquote spread offense, but ultimately they want to go in there and they want to establish the run and they want to play a physical style of football game. And then when you start packing guys into the box to start that's when the bubble screens occur and they start throwing the ball downfield and that sort of thing. But I mean, it's Heritage, man. They're going to be physical. They're going to establish the run game. They're going to be really, really sound on defense. And so, that's what stands out to them. It's year in, year out. You know what you're in for when you play Heritage.
When you coached against somebody, is it a better thing that obviously personnel is going to change, but you picked up tendencies from another head coach, so you know what they're going to do. Does that help or hurt your prep?
I mean, it's one of those things, right, where, I mean, you can start going down that rabbit hole where it's like, well, I know he's going to do this. Does he know that I'm going to do this to counter that? And you just keep going down and down and down. But, to a certain extent, you get familiar with the other coaches in the district and, hey, this is what they like to do in these certain situations. We know that the way we align on defense, this is the way that they're going to try and attack us and just so different things like that. But on the same hand, like they know all that stuff too, right? They're familiar with me and they probably know what I like to do in certain situations. So I don't know if it's a help or a hindrance. It is what it is.
Well, and one of Heritage's defensive assistants who's new pretty well. Does that help that you've had a friendship in the past with Dane?
Yeah. I mean, it's cool in the sense that, Dane and I have got to coach against each other for a number of years now, even, when he was over at Brookville and I was at Glass and then I was at JF. He was still at Brookville and now I'm at JF and he's at Heritage. So I mean, that's cool in the sense that, you know that guy and kind of get a feel for what he likes and how he likes to structure his defense. But on the same hand, the defense that Heritage running, is different than the defense that he ran at Brookville. From a schematic standpoint, and you can kind of see, his fingerprints on it and things like that, but it's almost the old school heritage defense all the way back to the Burt Torrance days, kind of melded with the new Dane Washburn flavor, I guess would be the best way to put it.
To wrap it up with football on the Lynchburg Garage Door pregame show with JT Cruz, always welcome his time, whether it's on my podcast or on the air. Give me three keys, one offensively, one defensively, and one special teams that gives JF a unblemished record after Friday night.
Honestly, the key is probably the same offensively and defensively. It's control the line of scrimmage. And so on offense, that's establish the run game, and on defense, that's stop the run game. And then from a special team standpoint, we got to be able to establish field position, and I think with that comes no catastrophic errors on special teams. And so things that I consider catastrophic errors are blocked kicks or giving up a return either on punt or kickoff, that sort of thing. I think if we can handle ourselves and do what we need to do on special teams with no catastrophic errors, control field position that way, establish the run on offense and stop the run on defense, I think those are going to be our keys to success.
Probably got to throw bad snap in there under catastrophic on special teams.
Yeah, absolutely. That is 100% in there. Man, thanks for bringing that up. Now I got it back in my mind now too.
Quick question to close it. When you say control the line of scrimmage defensively, I mean, obviously you're not going to get many games where you hold somebody negative. I know it's happened, but it's not like it's going to happen every week. When you say control the line of scrimmage, do you even have that number in your head of like they're not going to get but 2 first downs or they're not going to get but 2, 3, 4 yards of carry? I mean, how does that work if you get what I'm saying?
I'll be honest. I have never been a big stats guy.
Right.
For me, it's if they want to line up and run the ball right at you, are they able to do that? And if the answer is no, then I think you are handling what you need to on the line of scrimmage. And same thing inverse offensively. Like if we want to line up, they know we're running the ball, we know we're running the ball. Are we able to have success doing that? Then I think we are controlling the line of scrimmage on offense in the way that we need to.
Coach, always a pleasure to bring you to the airwaves, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you.